Hello, I'm the Discerning Clerk, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to my new channel. Today I'm going to give you a rundown on the 90s disaster classic, Armageddon, and hopefully in a way you haven't seen before. You see, I like to watch movies not through a biblical lens, but through a biblical framework. I'm calling this series Deconstructing Babylon because I believe that the mystery religions are being practiced in Hollywood Babylon since its inception. It's about examining the signs, symbols, and storylines from the mystery religions of Hollywood Babylon through a biblical framework. I have a particular affinity for 90s movies, not only because it was an incredible decade for movie making, arguably one of the best, but because I came up in the 90s, and that gives me the immense privilege of being an elder millennial. I also spent nearly a decade working in video stores from Blockbuster to Rogers Video. It was also through movies that God drew me to himself. He later revealed them as an idol, but has since taught me to see the lies that prevail in the images that we see and the celebrities that we worship. It is my deep hope to share this information with you so that we're not deceived. In the Gospel of Matthew, when Jesus' disciples ask him of the signs of his return, he tells them not to be deceived. I think we can all agree that we live in dark times, and Jesus is coming back. Let's not be deceived. Let's be prepared. So let's get into it. The video movie guide from 2000 is the book that we used in Blockbuster prior to the internet age and IMDb. First of all, it's given 3.5 stars out of 5. The second of 1998's Destroy the World scenarios, following on the heels of Deep Impact, actually is better and a lot of fun given its way over the top performances and ultra charged macho trappings. When a rogue asteroid threatens to end life as we know it and conventional means fail to destroy it, deep core driller Bruce Willis and his ragtag workers are sent through a crash course of astronaut basic training and then blasted into space to take care of things. The script is steeped with patriotic fervor and events are anchored by the girl left behind, a difficult role for Liv Tyler, who rises to the challenge and brings some genuine emotion to these bombastic events. Corny beyond words, but undeniably exciting. Rated PG-13 for violence, mild profanity, and dramatic intensity. So now we know what it's about. Spoilers, but what is it really about? The first image they show is of the stars. And while it takes place in space, the themes are very celestial in nature and point to divine judgment. Spiritually speaking, the sun, moon, and stars are indicative of kings, rulers, and princes. God created these lights to rule the day and night, and so symbolically they represent competing authorities. Here we are shown the destruction of the earth with the very real promise that it will happen again.
It happened before. It will happen again.
When Jesus returns, he will usher in a new heaven and a new earth. The old will pass away. Of course, this movie is primarily a Michael Bay directed commercial for NASA and came at a time when NASA was not prevalent in the public eye. The occultic roots of NASA are important to know, and I encourage you to dig into the history of the organization. But what I will share here is that NASA in Hebrew means to lead astray or deceive. And they love to name their shuttles and missions after Greek and Roman gods, i.e. the stars. Here the shuttle is named Atlantis, the lost city under the sea whose king is Neptune, one of the 7 wandering stars. They show a small dog here, which is my belief that a dog represents a reversal of sorts. The occultic reversal. Dog spelled backwards is God and will often indicate the filmmaker's view of God. This one little scene also had me thinking of Maui fires priming.
You gonna do about it? Get him, Richard. Sick him. If I wasn't a Christian, I'd be throwing your fat, pineapple-eating ass through the window.
Now they show us the destruction of New York City, including the Twin Towers. This movie was released 3 years prior to 9/11, but they have the coding present, as they do in a lot of movies. It also appears in the script.
Why are we not going? Huh?
Well, you know why? Because this is New York City. Anything could have happened. Listen to that.
Let me see, it could have been a terrorist bomb, could have been a dead body, somebody shot, stabbed. And it's Friday payday, too. Somebody probably jumped and get that paycheck.
And I'm fairly certain that one of these days they're going to take down the Golden Gate Bridge. But when we see 9/11 coding, it can mean a few different things. Most signs and symbols have multiple meanings, but 9/11 points to the very human component of a terror attack and what that means for loss of life. It points to a worldly event that divided history at the hands of evil men. And the spiritual element, which is the most important, the two pillars of Freemasonry are Boaz and Jachin, the twin towers which are torn down to become one. So it is a Masonic ritual that took place in Hollywood before it happened on the world stage. I also believe the number 9/11 is used to subvert the real birthday of Jesus Christ, according to the Jewish calendar. NASA here is shown as the moon, the ruler of the night. We know that because it gives this blue wash of light. But in contrast to the other tower, the sun, Billy Bob Thornton is the man in charge at NASA, Dan Truman. Truman has the meaning of true man, maybe even a reference to the first man, but in combination with his counterpart becomes a reference to the 33rd U.S. President, Harry S. Truman. His counterpart in the movie is Harry Stamper, played by Bruce Willis. He represents the sun, the golden light of the day. I just find it a bit ironic that the modern global terrorists of today were the heroes of yesteryear. Here we have Greenpeace protesting deep sea oil drilling taking place in the South China Sea. This little tidbit comes back later, like an Easter egg, when a meteorite hits down in this very spot. I should also mention Grace, Harry's daughter, played by Liv Tyler, as she was also mentioned in the synopsis. Her part was greatly increased. It didn't really help though, but it serves in the end. I'm afraid if I don't mention her now, it may be too late. So a massive meteor is going to destroy the whole Earth and everything in it. Not even bacteria would survive.
Now, if it's a Pacific Ocean impact, which we think it will be, it'll create a tidal wave 3 miles high, travel at 1,000 miles an hour, covering California and washing up in Denver. Japan's gone. Australia's wiped out. Half the world's population will be incinerated by the heat blast. The rest will freeze to death in nuclear winter.
And humanity's only hope is an oil drilling team. Makes sense why NASA kept this to themselves and didn't even tell the media.
Nobody knows. That's the way it stays.
They do show us the insane authority that NASA has, reporting directly to the president, giving orders to the top general, and able to waive income taxes.
They'll do it. They've made a few requests, though. Oscar here has got some outstanding parking tickets and wants them wiped off his record. Max would like you to bring back 8-track tapes. Not sure if that's going to work, but hey, you guys wouldn't be able to tell us who actually killed Kennedy, would you? None of them want to pay taxes again. Ever.
Sure, I think we can take care of some of that.
And I believe them. But this massively powerful organization thinks it's better to train drillers to drill in space than it is to train space sailors to use drilling equipment. And Michael Bay thought his commercial for NASA should be self-deprecating to the point of incompetence. I mean, it worked, I guess. Except the moon landing. That was their win, and they have to remind us. They wish they could have gotten Stanley Kubrick again, though they also referenced Dr. Strangelove.
That guy from that movie, Slim Pickens, where he rides it all the way in, the nuclear warhead.
Filmmakers also pay homage to Star Wars more than once, referencing the true theme of this movie as the war among the stars, or the lesser gods.
I had to say, who would you say?
I don't know, Oscar. Who do you think you are?
Han Solo.
No.
If anybody's anybody, I'm Han.
And you're Chewbacca.
Chewie? Have you even seen Star Wars?
Oh, I never saw Star Wars.
For the most part, symbolism is high during the first act of a movie as they are setting up story and characters. The middle part tends to not have as much, and Michael Bay has a very long middle section. He also has a lot of characters, and most of them don't matter. There's so much unnecessary dialogue, extended emotional scenes, constant explosive action sequences. And as I said before, there are so many supporting characters that don't mean anything. It's just so extra. The ones we need to pay attention to are AJ, played by Ben Affleck, and Rockhound, played by Steve Buscemi. He seems to be the truth teller of the bunch, almost prophetic at times. AJ is the love interest of the boss's daughter and possibly the son Harry never had. This plays on a spiritual level that I will explain in the end, but this scene's dialogue gives me pause.
The gazelle now faces man's most perilous question. No. South. Way down.
If north is above, towards God in heaven, and south is below, towards the depths, where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. AJ just made his choice. Maybe AJ stands for anti-Jesus. I'm just saying. This scene between Harry and Grace is odd. The communication between them is off, and it's taking place in the strange portal, the Apollo mission. Apollo, unironically, is the god of the sun. And with the jets flying over, opening this portal for Harry to pass through. Apollo was also a twin to Artemis, another reference to Twin Towers.
I address you tonight not as the President of the United States, not as the leader of a country, but as a citizen of humanity. We are faced with the very gravest of challenges. The Bible calls this day Armageddon, the end of all things.
This is the second reference to the Bible. The first speaking of the implications of the asteroid hitting the Earth as being the worst parts of the Bible. The destruction of God's creation at his own hand is the result of his divine judgment. Here, this day is called Armageddon, as described in the Bible. The reference to Armageddon is in the book of Revelation and says this in chapter 16, starting in verse 12. The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. Then 3 impure spirits, like frogs, came out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. They are demonic spirits that perform signs, and they go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them for the battle on the great day of God Almighty. Jesus says, "Look, I am coming like a thief. Blessed is the one who stays awake and remains clothed, lest he walk naked and be shamed." Then they gathered the kings together to the place that in Hebrew is called
Armageddon.
So the text tells us that lying spirits are sent to deceive the kings, or rulers of the earth. And these kings are separated from their people and gathered together in one place for judgment. The script is telling us that this has become a joint mission between the US, Russia, and China. So we get to the launch, and it's twin shuttles. Of course, it's twins. It has to be twins. The Freedom and Independence. Interesting why these shuttles don't have Greco-Roman names, but instead very American ideals. The gods of USA, if you will. Because it's twins, we know that one will go down, 2 will become 1, and 1 will emerge from the dust. And it's the Independence shuttle that goes down with AJ aboard. The significance here solidifies that humanity can no longer have independence from one another, but rather seek a global unity. This is further exemplified in the story with the inclusion of the Russian cosmonauts. Earlier in the second act, when it didn't matter, we learned that the asteroid has a varied makeup, including dense, difficult to drill iron ferrite, and they were certainly trying to avoid landing on the iron zone at all costs.
The reason we were shooting for grid 8 is because thermographics indicated that grid 9 was compressed iron ferrite. Which means you landed us on a goddamn iron plate.
At this point, it's my understanding that the asteroid signifies God's judgment.
How the hell do you know that?
Because I'm a genius.
This is also where my theory of Rockhound being a prophet plays out.
Mostly iron, Rockhound.
God, I hate knowing everything. There's some stuff in here I ain't never seen.
He seems to be the only one who understands his brevity of life and the right of God to judge.
Yeah, it's all wrong, man. We shouldn't even be up here.
I know. Let's go back to the ship.
Guess what, guys? It's time to embrace the horror. Look, we got front row tickets at the end of the earth. Wow, got a great view of the earth from here. Too bad we'll never set foot on her again.
He's even tied up and gagged at one point because the crew don't like his worthy melancholy. Revelation 19 verse 15 says this about the returning Christ. Now out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should strike the nations, and he himself will rule them with a rod of iron. He himself treads the winepress of the fierceness and the wrath of Almighty God. Lo and behold, AJ returns triumphant to save the day and the world.
We all gotta die, right? I'm the guy who gets to do it saving the world.
But see how it cut to Harry? Because it's really the sacrifice of the Son that saves the world from God's wrath. You see what's happening thematically? Harry takes AJ's place as the sacrifice. So we see Harry, the sun, the one tower, falls. NASA, the moon, the lesser light, remains. Freedom in unity. AJ, the sun, emerges and claims his bride. This false narrative is rampant in Hollywood, but I hope you see how this is pointing to promises of God told through lies and a spirit of fear, encouraging prideful separation from God. The fact is, Jesus took the full wrath of God on himself at Calvary, the wrath we all deserve. And when we believe that our sin separates us from God and trust that Jesus has made a way through his sacrifice to be reconciled to the Father forever, so that when he comes back, and he is coming back for his bride, the church, he finds her spotless and blameless. The elites of the world, the enemy of our souls, the prince of the air, and even our own flesh are all against us. Only God is for us. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Comment below if you want what movie I should take a look at next. And until next time, keep looking up. Bye.